countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Live from the Marvel Knights of the Round Table. This is more of the Last Comic Shop podcast.
That is right. We are opening the shop to newbies to help them find their way underneath this comic book tent and survive being shot at.
That's right. And we're keeping the lights on for the oldies and the moldies, not the Magia, who are sneaking in and controlling things and running afoul of folks like Frank Castle. We don't want any of that stuff in here. We're running an honest business.
We're on the level. We don't take for any of these mob dealings on the Last Comic Shop. I'm the host with the most, Andy Larson. You could call me the Kingpin. I've also got my underbosses. That would be J.A. Scott, Chad Smith, as well as my main capo on the street. That would be Ethan Larson.
I'm nobody's underboss, sir.
Andy, I was going to ask you, because we're doing this show, is this like going to be the Marvel Knights version of this show? Are we going to actually...
And by Marvel Knights version, do you mean high prestige comic book format or really crappy film studio that only puts out 2 movies?
Or both. We put the little red band on now. It's the 2020s.
I just thought we could say like, is that...
No, we're still beeping those out. We're still an all-ages show, despite the fact that the main protagonist of both the movie and the comic book this week slaughters just lots and lots of people. And
not for all ages.
No boobs, though, so that's okay.
Yeah, it's America.
That's true. Not a lot of sex.
Women in the whole thing. Like, across...
It doesn't pass the Bechdel test. The one woman that's in the comic book, all she does is spend most of the time talking about Punisher.
Thirsting, I believe.
Yes, thirsting. Horny as hell.
And then the other female character gets their brains blowed out in one panel. It's the female comic.
Right.
Yes,
and so for the last week of the Merry Marvel Marching Society, which I hope you've enjoyed all this March where we've done all these Marvel books, we thought that we would actually tease our next event on the Last Comic Shop, which is Movie Mayhem. Coming out in just another month, we'll be doing all comic books / movies.
Wait, you made us watch a movie and it's not even Movie Mayhem month?
It's Movie Marcham!
Especially this movie.
It's Movie Marcham, whatever. So we're watching both a movie and a comic books featuring the Punisher from Marvel. And we're going to start off with the comic book this week. So, Ethan, what's our comic book this week?
This is the Punisher Max in the beginning.
That's right. It is inclusive of the first 6 issues of the Punisher Max series, which, again, there were other books in the Max series that was released in the early 2000s, right?
Oh, yeah. The Max line was an extension of the Marvel Knights, but that was where they did their really gritty, really adult-oriented stories with the explicit content, with the over-the-top violence. And so you would get their darker characters in the Max books. Fury Max is a great one. I think Black Widow had a Max book or 2. Like, Luke Cage had a Max book, and, you know.
For those folks that are just reading comic books now, it is the equivalent of what they're calling the Red Band books now, but, like, they didn't have red bands on these things. I still don't get the red band thing. But in any case, J.A., who did these particular issues of Punisher Max?
This series was written by Garth Ennis, with pencils by Lewis Larosa and inks by Tom Palmer, colors by Gene White, and letters by Virtual Calligraphy's Randy Gentile. I never knew that's what VC stood for.
Oh.
Now you learn something every day. Punisher Max taught me something.
So all this time
we've
been saying like VC's Clayton Cowles, visual calligraphy. Okay, there you go.
To use a mob metaphor right here, but basically Garth Ennis is the godfather of Punisher, right? I mean, he's famous from Preacher? That's his big book.
Yes.
But I looked on Goodreads. If you look at Punisher as a character, you can't even find an author other than Garth Ennis.
That Punisher Max series had a great run.
Right. It is an iconic run of issues, and you're absolutely right. Garth Ennis, not only known for Preacher, The Boys, he was the creator of The Boys, very popular show on Amazon Prime, but that's all his babies. Again, dark dude, really, really gritty, and we'll get to that in just a second, but we're going to get the 10-cent synopsis from Chad. Chad, what happens in the first 6 issues of The Punisher, Max?
So in this particular series, we get a recap of Punisher's origin, his family being gunned down, and then Punisher's hunting down mob families and taking people out. And the FBI is using microchip to try and track Frank Castle down, and then a lot of people get punished.
That is true. Garth doesn't pull any punches, with Punisher being a really terrible person. Like, I will say just from the start, and I know that Ethan wanted to talk about this as one of our main focal points of this entire Punisher episode, is just some of folks in the society taking the wrong lessons from the Punisher. But I want to just start out by saying, in this particular set of issues, at no point does Garth Ennis make the Punisher out to be anything other than a monster. A guy that, like, sooner or later you're like, oh yeah, I'm really glad that he turned into a Frankenstein, because this dude is totally without remorse, totally without any redeeming qualities, doesn't have any friends, doesn't have anything else to live for other than killing people, and really shouldn't be glorified in any sort of way.
Yeah, I wanted to start off giving the Punisher disclaimer. And I think this is probably because of the Netflix show more than anything, because, like, we're going to talk about a movie later that I think wasn't very popular, Punisher Warzone. Actually, many times on the show when I brought it up, Chad would just make references to the Thomas Jane Punisher.
The one with John Travolta?
Yeah, but I know. I think because of the portrayal of John Barenthal. I just had this very big struggle with I like the Punisher as a character. I like him. It's good in a fantasy. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we all want to see the bad guys get their comeuppance, right? In a fantasy world, that can be meted out quickly and severely. But in the real world, there's no reason people should look at the Punisher as anything more than a fantastical, like, oh, this is a fun little exercise if someone could do this. But real justice should take time. Real justice should have checks and balances. Real justice doesn't have one person out there being judge, jury, and executioner, no matter how cool they are, no matter how much they look like Clint Eastwood, no matter how badass or how many weapons they have. There should be more to it than that.
Right.
And so
the one thing that I know from PBS, which I'm a huge fan of PBS, is that there are certain pleasure centers of the brain which are activated by the thought of vengeance. It's the same pleasure centers that are activated by sex and chocolate. So it's a thing that we're all hardwired to do.
And the Knight, too, because Batman, he's not just the vengeance, he's the Knight.
But it's a reason why we get behind certain characters like the Punisher or Batman that mete out justice in a very violent way. And I think it's actually very telling that one of the best-selling comic books right now is Absolute Batman, which is Batman one step closer to the Punisher, in which he's the guy that says, knock and knock. Jay, there was an interesting article that was released recently. Like, somebody came out and flat out said from DC that the Punisher was just Batman who broke.
Right. Like, the headline of this article made me laugh. DC officially confirms the Punisher is just the Batman who broke. They're confirming something about another company's IP, but whatever. The idea is that Batman would have become Punisher, except that he was super rich, so he got to travel around the world and channel his anger, and he had a butler to help take care of him and usher it. So he had a way to focus his anger, where Frank Castle was Poe and couldn't focus his anger. And I like that idea, but it's also really condescending when you think about it. Well, poor people don't know how to focus their anger the way rich people can.
Yeah, and research has showed that looking up to billionaires is the right move, too.
Well, I will say, though, Absolute Batman is poor. He is
That
bored,
is
so
the gimmick.
he didn't have the thing to channel all his anger, so that's why he's even more angry.
How poor can he be? He's got a massive dump truck for a Batmobile.
For an ass? Hell yeah, he has a massive dump truck, brother. He's thick.
More and more Absolute Batman goes, the more and more he is just as crazy as the Punisher. The one arc, he's pulling out his own teeth, while he's locked up from Bane. Like, the similarities are striking. But be careful. This was all, a clickbait author making these assertions. This wasn't DC definitively saying. Taking the hints from a story about, this character,
right,
this
quiet
bad guy
man.
you fought Batman.
They're talking about the quiet man.
And I guess the same point, be careful with the Punisher, because you can read the wrong lessons out of the Punisher. And I think, like to Andy's point, getting back to the comic, I think Garth Ennis really does a good job of making the Punisher a force of nature. He's the catalyst of the story. He's not the protagonist. He's the catalyst. Like, he's the reason all this stuff is going on. And eventually, anybody that's associated with the Punisher is going to meet their demise. Whether it's the buddy that comes over for a beer and wants to cheat on his wife, or friend.
Well, doesn't he want to cheat on his wife? Got divorced from his wife, met another person, and Frank Castle gets angry because his wife is dead, and this guy threw his wife away. Which, I'm sorry, problem with the Punisher, it goes back to the whole life versus fantasy thing, is that in life, nuance exists. Right? I'm sorry, not every marriage was meant to be together forever, and people break up and people get remarried. This is life. Life is messy, and the Punisher doesn't have a messy worldview. So he looks at this guy who's been divorced from his wife and decides that he needs to be punished because the Punisher didn't get to live with his wife, this guy who threw his wife away. And that's where you can see how extreme he is. And good on Garth Ennis. That's not written in a way that makes the Punisher look good at all.
No.
Yeah, but to play devil's advocate, it's sexy chocolate. Like, I'm sure there's lots of divorcees out there be like, yeah, damn right. I didn't have a choice. Good on that guy.
That is true. Well, I mean, again, it does play into that primitive center of our brains that people love vengeance. They love that idea of somebody that would finally just do something about these things that are just making us angry.
Every third movie in the 80s, I feel like, was another, this guy's taking it back.
That's true.
Wasn't this the plot of The Crow, too? Is that he's basically brought back to life to kill mobsters? Is that
yes!
It's that whole... Every movie with Bruce Willis, every movie with...
we're going to get to The Crow later when we review Warzone, which just, liberally cringed from a much better Crow movie. But we haven't really talked about the comic book at all. I, for one, love the covers. I don't know if I love the Lewis Larosa pencils as much. They were very brutal, I think is the best. Maybe they're supposed to reflect Frank Castle's worldview, but they're very brutal.
I thought the opposite. I thought the covers were very much like, it was almost like Golden Age looking. Was a Norman Rockwell painting with violence.
There's like a slickness to them. I don't know if Golden Age is the right way to put it, but like a
classic look.
Tim Bradstreet did the covers, by the way.
The covers are what people that take the wrong lessons from the Punisher, they want to emulate. This guy with a gun looking like he's the most badass guy that ever existed on the face of the planet, versus the interiors, which are sketchy, they're dark. There's one scene, one of the characters gets a close-up of Frank Castle's face, and it's just like a mangled mess of like scar tissue. And I think that's incredibly symbolic of the Punisher's existence, where all he is a big mass of scar tissue, just death upon death wreaked upon this world.
I think the best characterization of him is when he's in the interrogation room and you can't even see not even his eyes, but his eye sockets. He's just a ghost figure. This is a man that is 100% broken through and through and irredeemable. And
keep in mind that the main driving plot of these 6 issues is, for everybody that may or may not know, Frank Castle in the 80s had a partner, Microchip. He was the guy in the van, the guy in the chair. for Frank Castle. Like, they would go on missions together. He would sit in the van, make sure that Punisher held the guns, make sure that he knew where all the targets were, all this other jazz, right? Microchip says, Frank, I agreed with your mission for a while, but I think you're going too far overboard. I want you to come back in and work for the federal government and take down foreign governments and dictators and stuff, and we can work together to make this world a better place, because I think that's what your true calling is.
Instead of killing mob bosses, why didn't you kill Bin Laden?
Right. He's like, Frank, I've worked this out with the CIA where, like, we've captured you, but we're capturing you on purpose. We're trying to bring you back in and save you from this reckless existence. And all Frank says is, I have to kill you now because you have not only betrayed me, it's a war, and like nobody gets to decide like when I stop and who I fight for. I fight for me.
And
you're gonna have
he's also very anti-government. This Punisher especially, still, this came out in 2004, and they draw him that way. He's in his 50s. If you base his age on his wife's age, he fought in Vietnam, and so he still scarred by that experience fighting for his government in an unjust war and being used by his government. So for him to go work for the CIA.
And I was going to say, like, if you like geopolitics, like even if you aged him up, like you could still think the same thing for Desert Storm. You could still think the same thing for Afghanistan. Like, it wouldn't take a leap of faith if you wanted to age him up a little bit. But the point still remains is the government betrayed him. His friends betrayed him. And he wants to know what's the bottom of where this government entity, what their true end game is, which is basically selling heroin to a bunch of like countries.
Oh yeah, and smuggling heroin into the country in dead coffins. And I was like, oh, that's straight out of a Denzel Washington movie.
I do want to throw it to Chad real quick. Chad, you have gone on record on last Comic Shop episode saying the Punisher is not your favorite character. In fact, Frankencastle was one of the few times you actually genuinely liked him. What do you think of these issues of Punisher Max and Garth Ennis' take?
It genuinely is tough because there's definitely a part about Frank Castle as a character that irks me and rubs me the wrong way. And when I see people out there that are in the military or in the police that have Punisher tattoos, and I'm like, oh man, that's not how that's supposed to go. With that said, there's also, like, I have that animal part of my brain too, where it's like, I want to see the bad guys get what they have coming. And in this book, like you said, they're not glorifying Frank Castle. They're making him look isolated. They're making him look like a monster. And for me, that's when Frank Castle is the best, when he is, you know, this monstrous force. There is even, I don't want to say that touch of realism, but with that aged up and like, I always think, I forget where it was, where Batman shows off his back in the Batcave, and his back is all scarred, and you know, but that's the Punisher all over here. This is a guy that is scarred all over, mentally, physically. That makes sense. That tracks. I didn't mind this coming at it as, oh, I know what this is going in. I've kind of braced myself. I'm kind of trying to turn off the restrictor plates in my brain that know, like, no, this is hyper glorified violence. No, this hyper gore, like, this isn't stuff that's good for you. This isn't stuff that should be encouraged. But I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy the story. It was fast paced. I thought it was well told. Yeah, I don't know. It's a moral quandary because I didn't hate it, but I want to hate it.
Yeah, there's something gratifying about that scene where those gangsters, which again, Garth Ennis takes some great pains to talk about some gangsters that have been basically hired to get rid of the Punisher after this bloodbath that starts off issue 1, where he stands in the middle of like a fountain, must kill like at least 100 mob folks that are at this one party with a Gatling gun. It's insane.
Yeah. And just time out. That's where you have to turn off the realism part of your brain with any of these stories.
Yeah.
In real life, if someone murdered like 3 people, they're on the news and everybody knows about them. The Punisher would be the most famous serial killer of all time. I apologize.
No, but it's true. But they paint these hitmen that are going after the Punisher, and they're just terrible dudes. And so eventually they find where the Punisher is. They start killing all these CIA agents, which, again, who knows? They probably deserved it, whatever. Punisher bites one of the guy's fingers off, headbutts this dude, and again, something that was worthy of Meatball Batman. That was a headbutt for the ages. And then eventually throws this one dude out of a window onto like a fence and then just jumps down, like impales.
It basically breaks his fall by jumping off and landing on the guy's.
Yeah, I mean, he impales him on the fence, and then the guy's trying to unimpale himself, and Punisher jumps down and impales him further.
Which, spoiler alert, was taken scene by scene and put into Punisher Warzone. But we'll get that.
Yes.
Well, I lie that I didn't see some of those scenes and go, oh, that's awesome. I'm sorry, that's kind of
missing
cool.
From the comic book, but included in the movie is the punch where he punches the guy and breaks his whole face. Like,
oh my goodness! Oh.
But
let's get into ratings. We have this movie to get to. I know that we didn't talk a ton about the comic book, but that's what ratings are for. We got J.A. Scott to give us a 1 out of 4 scale for the first 6 issues of Punisher Max. What are we giving it?
Is it number 1 with the bullet? Is it number 4 with the bullet? Bullet.
It's got to be
that's true.
Yeah.
All right, Ethan, this was your pick this week, so we're going to let you go first. I know you were in a moral quandary, but what did you think of these issues?
Oh man, this is like if you're talking just straight up Punisher stuff, this is 3.5, close to 4. This is great stuff. This is Punisher at his prime. It's just can you leave your lefty vibes at the door when
your lefty bourgeoisie?
Yes.
Can you leave?
Unlike that guy that left his lefty righty nut in a cup.
Oh, that's so nasty! Oh my gosh!
But no, just strap the in. That's what I have to say. When you're reading Garth Ennis Punisher, you have to be in a vibe. But if you're in that vibe, it's fantastic. And look, man, I'm gonna say it. Like Punisher is one of my favorite comic book characters. I don't know why, and it drives me crazy, but he's my dude. So I love this shit.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go next, and I'm gonna give it higher than that. This is easily 3.85, close to a 3.9. It is like if you're talking about Punisher, like if you want to just read Punisher, this is the stuff that I would recommend that people read. And again, for all the reasons I mentioned, not only do I think that it's incredibly well written by Garth Ennis, it's engaging, it's dark, it's disturbing, it's street, it's violent, it's cruel, but also, again, like it's not a Punisher you are supposed to like or sympathize with. And I dig that. I dig that in spades. I like the idea that the Punisher is a force of nature and it can't be replicated, can't be duplicated. There's only one of him. He has a brutality that can't be matched by anybody else. And he tells the story with that, which I think with incredibly good art. I like the art in this. If you're talking about an art that's just as brutal as the story is, I think this is where it's at. This is the gold standard for Punisher stories for me. Like this whole Punisher Max run, this is what people should read. You can read the other stuff, but it's not as good.
Yeah, I won't say I'm going to rate it as high as a 3.8. I think it's definitely like a 3.25. I really did love the covers more than the interior art, but I understand where you're coming from with the interior art being brutal to reflect the brutalness of the story. The covers, though, have that sort of Dutch Golden Age Rembrandt-esque like beauty to them. It's still life. And I think that's also a feature. I think they did that on purpose. I remember seeing this interview with John Bernthal when he was promoting the Punisher, the Netflix Punisher show, and he had gone into this comic book store, and he was like, I got this new character I want to buy some comic books about, and the guy's like, oh, are you going to be playing the Punisher? Here, you got to read Punisher Max, and then you got to read this, and you got to read that, and you got to read... But Punisher Max was the gold standard, was the go-to, and I think it's because it's so in your face, it's so brutal, and it doesn't shy away from what he does. Where the other Punishers, he's not a PG-13 type of character, and if you have to make PG-13 books with him, it's kind of ridiculous sometimes. So to have it in a Max format... I think is good. I like that they had Marvel Max. I think they've gone away from it. Red Band, I think, is just a pale comparison because it's essentially the same book, but we're going to add 1 or 2 pages. To me, Red Band's more of a marketing gimmick, where this is concerted strategy to write more adult-oriented books. So, yeah, I could say 3.25.
All right, Chad, wrap us up.
I don't know, man. I don't want to like this. I really don't. I mean, it's gory, it's gross, it's perverted. But I laughed at the horny lady FBI agent thirsting over here in the Punisher, be like, oh, I bet he's got a big dick. Like, what? What? There was a certain amount of just over the top ridiculousness that I think this is what the Punisher should be. It should be gory. It's not praising him as heroic. He's a jerk. The people around him are jerks. The people that are getting their comeuppance deserve their comeuppance as much as I do struggle with it. The work I like, it's what it inspires that I don't want to encourage. I'm going to say 3 bullets because I liked it, but I don't want to. And so it was very personal. You know,
I was going to say, Chad, we did the Punisher disclaimer at the beginning of the show. We got
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're good as a piece of art. That's what it is. Like as a comic book about the Punisher.
It's a 3 out of 4. The art is good, but it's not the best art I've seen. It's definitely brutal. It's definitely gory. There are times where, I don't know, it could have been punched up a little bit more. There were some notes of early 2000s when it comes to some of the coloring and stuff that kind of irks me. Like, don't get me wrong, as good as this is for a Punisher book, it's not perfect. I'd still recommend most other books.
All right. Well, we've got a movie to get to. It's Punisher Warzone. It's coming up right after this commercial break, so stay tuned for more Last Comic Shop right after this.
Hey, it's Mikey Wood, frequent Last Comic Shop guest and collector. And as a collector, I'm always in need of boards, bags, long boxes, and more to house all those comics. That's why I use promo code LCSPOD to get 10% off my orders at bcwsupplies.com. Not only does it get me a discount on BCW's already low prices, but I know using LCSPOD at checkout is another way I can show my support to the Last Comic Shop podcast in their continuing mission to bring fans together under that big comic book tent. So if you're in need of comic book supplies, head out to bcwsupplies.com and use promo code LCSPOD today. That's LCSPOD.
Hello, I'm Anthony.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
And we're the hosts of Capes on the Couch, the podcast where comics get counseling.
Superheroes don't always get to go home happy. That's where we come in.
We offer psychiatric and mental health evaluation of comic book characters.
We also chat with some of your favorite creators,
Al Ewing,
Erica Schultz,
Gail Simone,
Philip Kennedy Johnson,
Chris Claremont,
about their work on comics.
So check out all our episodes at capesonthecouch.com and follow us at Capes on the Couch on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hashtag because comics.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, and now it's time for us to review a movie. We're going to do the 2008 Punisher Warzone, which features Frank Castle protecting his neck for the first time. In any of these books, you never see Frank Castle with neck protection, but protection is important, kids. That's why we're brought to you by bcwsupplies.com. That's right. Not only protect Punisher's neck, but protect your proud collectibles with those bags and boards and things that are going to keep them safe from whatever damage lurks out there. LCSPOD for 10% off at checkout. That's right. Protect your collectibles from any punishment they might endure. And now you can listen to our review of Punisher Warzone. So Ethan, you got us into the Warzone.
Yeah, this is 100%. I will take full credit for this. This is my pick. Punisher Warzone is a year for Ethan. I don't know what this says about me as a person. This is my year, Ethan.
I think Ethan just picked this to get revenge for the Fletcher Hanks, to be very blunt, because maybe we're going to have another dud show up on this show. We'll see. Let's get to J.A. Scott, who's going to tell us who wrote this schlock.
Punisher Warzone was the first film and one of 2 from the short-lived studio Marvel Knights, which was for films with more mature audiences.
Which one was the other one?
The other film was the second of the Ghost Rider movies.
The one where he pees.
Yes!
Definitely year of Ethan picks.
All right, no more year Ethan picks. We need
Peace, Hellfire!
This couldn't be shaping up better for Ethan. This is fantastic.
Directed by Academy Award nominee Lexi Alexander.
What?
Not nominated for this film.
Oh, she directed Green Street Hooligans.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, with Elijah Wood. I just always saw that movie at Blockbuster. It was always there.
Yes, she did Green Street Hooligans. She was nominated for the short film Johnny Flinton. Anyways, written by Nick Santora, Art Markham, and Matt Holloway. Yes, 3 writers for this.
It's always good when a movie has 3 writers. This is good. This is good. We're getting close.
Yep. Starring Ray Stevenson, the Northern Irishman, rest in peace, and the Sheffield man, Dominic West, playing the big bad, almost unrecognizable after like the first scene because he wore this rubber horrible prosthetic to show that he was Jigsaw. You might know him better as Prince Charles from The Crown, or if you really like your cop dramas, he's in The Wire, where he arguably did his best work.
And you're also bearing the lead here,
that-
J.A. Who was the most prominent actor in this? Mr. Newman?
And then you had Newman. When watching the movie, I'm like, I'm just worried that Microchip is going to be stealing some dinosaur embryos and try to get away in a postal van. Because when I see him, that's all I can think of. Either Jurassic Park and or Seinfeld. Put out by Lionsgate, it bombed in the theater. It did not even make back its production budget.
Oh yeah, made for what, 35 mil, and it made like 10 or something.
Yeah.
No, it was not so great. Now this is the third of the Punisher reboots, starting with the Dolph Lundgren one, then the one that Chad knows.
This one had the face off.
Just use the bow and the arrow at the end. No, that's the Thomas Jane Punisher.
Is it Kevin Nash? No.
And now there's this one. And the 10-cent synopsis from Ethan. What happens in this particular movie?
The scene from Punisher Max, he goes to a mansion, he kills an old dude, he starts a mob war, he jumps on a chandelier and does a 360, spraying bullets everywhere. That scene's awesome. Okay, I don't care what y'all say. I don't care if it was cringe from some other movie. It's freaking awesome. And one of the characters, who turns out to be Jigsaw, he throws into a glass machine and cuts up Jigsaw's face. He was known as a pretty boy before then. He's now Jigsaw. But in this, getting after Jigsaw, he kills FBI who was undercover. He didn't know it, and he has a moral dilemma that he can't accept that he killed one of the good guys. And so the whole movie revolves around the late FBI agent's wife and daughter, and how they get involved with Jigsaw, because Jigsaw wants to get wife and daughter have the money from the FBI agent. Eventually,
they do eat a lot of MREs. It's delicious eggs.
Meals ready to eat.
Did you mention Looney Bin Jim?
Who loved a strong grip.
And breaking every mirror and or reflective glass.
It makes sense. It's narratively makes sense. I mean, and also Al Ink and the other guy, Pugsley.
Whatever, rando gangster.
Pitsy. That's his name.
They show off, but they're not as brutal as in Punisher Max. You're right.
But yeah, there is a lot of stuff that's like cribbed directly from Punisher Max. So I have to give credit to at least the people that wrote this movie or took stuff directly, like stock and lock from the comic book that we just read. I was stunned that it started with the mansion scene. Then you went to the best scene in the movie, where the guy does the flip over the building. Punisher shoots a rocket launcher right in his head. Yes!
All right, you're right that there were a couple scenes when I laughed out loud, not for the right reasons, but for the wrong reasons. That one was one of them.
All I can hear is Michael Scott shouting, "Parkour! Parkour!"
But anyways, yeah, some of the action scenes, while very well shot, I felt cribbed liberally from a much better movie of the 90s called The Crow. Like that whole initial shootout when he kills like the whole mob family in the mansion. I was like, that's straight out of The Crow, when Crow went in and was up on the table and shooting everybody and then spinning on the chandelier. And it's like, that's not the Punisher. The Punisher's not supposed to be flamboyant. The Punisher's supposed to be brutal. And what I was missing is like in the comic book, he kills all these mob guys and then he's like, oh, these guys aren't soldiers, even though they call them soldiers. They're not going to flank me. And then he's got some claymores set up. Where were the claymores?
I agree, J.A., just simply because they tried to recreate the scene from the first issue of Punisher Max in this. But I think that the one in Punisher Max makes more sense for the character. Like, he sets up a gun in the middle of this fountain, like one place. He defends the whole, like, area. It's no acrobatics. It's no crazy, like, I can swing from a chandelier and like shoot a bunch of people. He's like, no, I just have heavy artillery and I'm just going to blow the hell out of a building.
But that doesn't make a good movie, bro. Like,
that makes more sense.
That's more boring. Come on. You gotta do the chandelier 360.
And when he like lands from these things, like he lands hard. You're like, oh, this guy has knees and things. It's not like Iron Man doing the Iron Man landing, you know. There's some realism there.
Keep telling yourself that, Chad. Keep telling yourself.
All the reasons I mentioned in the previous segment for why I like Punisher Max is why I didn't like Punisher Warzone. Punisher Warzone goes out of its way to paint the Punisher as a heroic and even at times sympathetic character. Like, if people take the wrong lessons from the Punisher, oh, it's okay that I take the law into my own hands because at the end of the day, I struggle and women should have sex with me. I should be able to walk up to them after killing their husbands and be like, shoot me because your daughter loves me too now because I'm so manly. It rubbed me the wrong way. And Ray Stevenson, I don't blame him for it. Like, he was a really good actor in it. And for doing the American accent that he did, he should get props because that was tough. To talk like the Punisher when you obviously are Ray Stevens and have an awesome speaking voice and everything else.
He slips into the Irish accent. Like
he does. And I'm at the times he does, I'm like, good for you, Ray. That sounds more like you, buddy. And then they bring in like this other FBI agent and like the Chief Wiggum cop, Detective Soap, who's like, oh, I'm your biggest fan, Punisher. Why don't you help me out? I'm about to be killed by this mugger, so it's okay you shoot him in the face. Like, I'm like, come on. Don't make the Punisher out to be somebody that we like. He's
like, I don't want to give him the $30 that's in my wallet. That's my $30. Shoot him in the head instead, Frank. Come on, let's go.
And then to make the Jigsaw just like this Joker clone, I was not a fan of this. Chad, I mean, your thoughts?
I loved it. For all the reasons you mentioned, Andy, you were totally right. This makes the Punisher seem over-glorified, but here's why I liked it. This movie takes the stuff that happens in the Punisher book, it makes it cool and ridiculous, and it translates it into real life in a way that, like, Jay, you're not coming to this movie for originality. I'm sorry that you notice certain scenes or crib from other movies. So fucking what? You're not coming to this movie for nuance. You're not coming to this movie for any delicate, thought-provoking. No, you're coming to this movie because you were coming back late from the 80s and you just want to see a movie about a guy who's frustrated and is shooting a bunch of bad guys, and the girls love him and the little girls love him even more, and it doesn't matter that he murdered their dad, and who gives a because it's the Punisher and he's going to shoot things, and that's all it is. I genuinely mean this, where like I could appreciate a world where instead of every Marvel movie trying to be another bigger team up cosmic gobbledygook, like give me these schlock vests from time to time. Give me a Moon Knight movie like this where he's just effing crazy and the plot's ridiculous and it's stitched together from 6 other movies, and that's fine as long as it's fun and ridiculous. And I enjoyed the dark humor here. I enjoyed the action. Was it way too gory? Yes. Was it inappropriate for kids? Yes. Was it inappropriate for not well adults? Absolutely. But if you want a Punisher movie, this is what you're going to want.
Yeah, like Andy and Jay, have you seen the Thomas Jane Punisher movie?
Yes. With the bow and arrow? Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah.
With Kevin Nash.
At times, like, I thought that Thomas Jane Punisher was more of an insult to the Punisher character. Just because, like, I don't think they went full bore. And, like, this goes full bore. Like,
Oh, yeah, and then some.
that's why I've always liked this movie more than the Thomas Jane. That's why I've watched the collector's edition of this movie. I was the only one in America that bought it. But I would be like the Boondock Saints back in the day, where we would just, like, if people were coming over, the boys, and I'm hanging out, I'm like, we got to watch the Punisher Warzone, because you're going to, if you like Call of Duty, you're going to love this movie. It is full on, like, in your face. Is it a good movie? No, it's not a good movie. Is it the right movie? Yes.
Apparently, comedian Patton Oswalt loves this film, and he was like, "This is the best time I've had in the movies all year," and hosted screenings of it in L.A. I tend to be more of the Roger Ebert, who says you used to be able to depend on a terrible film to be made poorly, but The Punisher Warzone is one of the best made bad movies I've seen. So it's technically an okay movie, but it's just bad. The dialogue's insipid. The acting outside of Ray Stevenson is not great. Dominic West has done a lot better. I don't know if it was the giant mask of rubber that he had to put on his face to become Jigsaw, or just the script itself. It wasn't a good movie, and had I not had to watch it for the show, I probably would have turned it off after 5, 10, 15 minutes. In this case, I only turned it off after an hour and 20, 25 minutes, because I just couldn't. I didn't watch the end. I couldn't handle it. That's just, no. It's too stupid.
You missed the part where it says Jesus saves on the cross, and then it just, like, the Jesus part fades out, it just saves, and it's the Punisher logo.
I wouldn't say I missed it. I'd say I was better for it.
And Soap's like, oh, I better get another diaper around.
Yeah, thank goodness I can buy those 2 pizzas now. The world is safe.
All right, we got recommendations to get to. Let's get to ratings. Punisher Warzone. JA, what do you got for that one?
1 out of 4 smashed mirrors.
Oh, there you go.
See, that's as nuanced as you get with these Punisher movies.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go first. I went into this wanting to like this. Again, Ethan is my brother, and for a really long time, we oftentimes have similar thoughts on certain things. I do love certain movies that are like super adrenaline, testosterone dripping.
Boondock Saints.
Boondock Saints. Dread. We watched Dread for this particular podcast on a previous episode. Again, another Lionsgate movie, another very, very violent movie, very stylized violence, in my opinion. Why did I give Dread a 5, and I'm going to give Punisher Warzone a 0? It had a compelling storyline, character that was able to dish out justice that I believed in. Like, he was the law, regardless of whether you agreed with him or not. The judges were the law. In Mega City 1, they are the judges, so he has the moral authority.
Stop bullshitting around. It's
a dud. It is a dud. It's a 0. It's not a good movie. It's probably one of the worst movies I've seen in a really long time. And maybe it's just because it's been released way too soon. Like, my recommendation on this week is going to be going back and watching the original Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie, which I feel like enough time has passed where that becomes campy and fun. Gives the wrong lessons.
2008 was 18 years ago. This movie votes.
And I will say that Wayne Knight, I was hoping for a lot more microchip, but he's like there for like 5 seconds with his debilitated mom, and then it's at the end.
His
being
weird
like,
mustache.
Yeah, his soul patch.
His chin. That's not a soul patch. That's just a chin something. I don't know. Who's ever watched a movie and said, I want more Newman? What the hell?
This guy at least thought he could bring at least some humor or something to it. It's a 0. I didn't like Chad. What did Chad think?
Oh, I also agree. This is a bad movie. It's bad. Like Jigsaw he gets the Joker origin, and then he gets like his little brother Carnage to come in, who like midway through the film, we're going to make him know all about medical science. Oh, that's your MCL that you just sprayed. That's going to take a lot of. Oh, that's your interior ligament. You know, if you're peeing red, that might be a sign of your kidneys failing. And he's like, I'm going to bite your face. Crazy guy. It was lots of scenery chewing. 3 out of 4. I feel like it's the schlock you expect when you're going in for a Punisher movie. If you're a Punisher fan, you're going to walk out of this. It is what you get.
All right, J.A., which side of the fence are you on?
I don't think it's a 0 because
you didn't even finish it. You didn't even finish it, and I gave it a 0. You're going to give it more than a 0, and you didn't even BS. Have some balls.
This is AI JA right now. It's like, come on.
I will not be bullied. Thank you very much. I will not be bullied. Well, I don't think it's a 0. I don't think it's a 1. I was going to say 0.5.
Wow.
That's a good
because it was at least competently produced. I mean, it's bad, and it's not even cheesy bad. It's just bad, but it looks all right.
Is it because the director was up for that Oscar? Is that the 0.5?
I feel bad saying that you. Yeah, I do.
That pretentiousness has to pop in once in a while.
I feel bad for her.
An Academy Award nominee.
Everyone's got a raspberry somewhere in their past. Look at Sandra Bullock.
Ethan, is it a 4?
Well, I'm just going to have to say, like, I think you guys, especially Andy, I think he went into this with the wrong frame of mind. This is your Punisher Warzone menu. You got to get fried chicken. At least, let's go Popeyes. It was the winner of our last chicken shop contest. Go back and listen to that show. You got to get Alpinas, at least 3 of them. You got to get some hot sauce. You got to get a couple beers. Your shot of Jameson. That is the full Punisher Warzone experience. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this is like an Academy Award winning movie or anything. But I used to have this friend group in Cleveland that we would go out to movies all the time. And we would see the Saw movies. And we got to about Saw 5 or Saw 6. By the time you're into Saw 6, you pretty much know what you're going to get from these movies. And so that's what you got to go into Punisher Warzone thinking, this is the Saw 6 of the Marvel Universe cinema. Like, you want to see complete schlock, overacting to the 10th degree. This is your movie. This is the capital B movie of the Marvel Universe. And I would have to say it's a pretty accurate portrayal of the Punisher, minus the whole sympathetic nonsense, which we got into the Punisher disclaimer at the beginning of the show. So for me, I'm going to go with Chad. I'm going to go with the 3 out of 4. We got to go there. Watch Punisher Warzone. I have to say that because he is a more accurate portrayal than Thomas Jane's Punisher and also Dolph Lundgren's Punisher. He is the most accurate portrayal of Punisher that you have until you get to the Netflix shows.
Okay. I'm sorry. Now it's a 0.
Yes! We finally got him.
Good for you, son. Good for you standing up to the
yeah, I'm on the side of angels here, baby.
Which is a line they would say in a shit-ass movie like this.
Well, one thing that we've also got accurate portrayals of is recommendations. We got to wrap up this show real fast because we've been spending some time, but stay tuned for more Last Comic Shop right after this.
Hello, Internet. It's George from Shortbox Summary. I started going to the comic shop every week when I was a kid back in 2004, and I thought it was a golden era for the medium. While my first love is comics, my second love is the 2000s. So please join me as I revisit the mid-2000s comic book scene to figure out if the books were good or if I was just 15. This is a retrospective show that takes a look back at Marvel, starting with Avengers Disassembled and talking about the movies, music, TV, sports, and everything in between that made that era what it was. If you like the Last Comic Shop podcast, please give Shortbox Summary a listen. because I like the Last Comic Shop podcast, and I invite those guys on as much as I possibly can. Hope to see you soon, true believers.
LastComicShopPodcast.com is the destination for all things shop. Plan your week with upcoming show schedules, the latest books, recommendations, and chatter from the crew. Subscribe to the show on all major podcasting platforms from one convenient location. Show your support and browse the merch store. T-shirts, tanks, hoodies for the fam, coffee mugs, magnets, totes, and more. Check out exclusive content through the show's YouTube channel and follow the pod on Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and others. All this and so much more at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com. www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com.
All right, we're back with more Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for recommendations. This is the time of so where we have other books in addition to Punisher Max, which you can pick up somewhere, and maybe you can find Punisher Warzone and you can watch it, and you can decide if it's a 3 or a 0. Like there's like a huge difference in opinion.
It all averages out to 1.5, baby.
Good point, Chad. Good point. In any case, Chad's going to start us off with his recommendation this week. What do you got for us?
All right. You f***ers like the Punisher. Here's Punisher. It's the Punisher Red Band by Benjamin Percy. It starts off, in the past couple of years, they have been trying to reconcile the Punisher with other things, and there was a brand new Punisher, and they took Frank Castle off the board and all this other weird stuff. Part of the hand and all that, none of it made a lick of sense. And so Benjamin Percy brings the Punisher back, but now his mind is being controlled by the Kingpin. Oh no! Oh! And then there's Tombstone. Oh no! Ah! The Punisher kills a lot of people, and that's what you're going to want out of Punisher. So honestly, it's one of those books that it tickles the itch, and it was surprisingly well done. I remember I picked up the first issue because it had one of those cool collage covers, and I'm just a sucker for those things. But after I read it, I was like, yeah, I'm in. And turns out it was a good ride. Punisher Red Band.
All right. Well, my recommendation is also going to be Punisher, and that is, again, as I mentioned previously, you should check out the original Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren. That's all I'm saying, because unlike this one, that is schlock, but it's fun schlock.
And it made its money back. He
doesn't even wear the skull.
Lou Gossett Jr. is in that movie. There's this one scene where a bunch of Yakuza members come down on slides with like machine guns. They're on slides, like I don't know, like kiddie slides. At the end, the Punisher teams up with this other mob boss that walks around like a puffy jean jacket, and they go to fight the Yakuza and so good. It's ridiculous. But it's ridiculous in all the ways that Punisher Warzone wasn't. So if you want a ridiculous Punisher movie, he burns himself with a knife, and Dolph Lundgren is like naked, and some of this, like, I don't know, this is fun. It's good stuff. I enjoy that movie a lot. It's aged like fine wine. Mwah, I love it. Punisher with Dolph Lundgren.
I used to rent that movie all the time from the Anvil family movie rental place. Man, that movie stood up on VHS, let me tell you. I am also recommending some Punisher. And this is if you take the Punisher from that Marvel Knights movie and you take the other Marvel Knights movie and Ghost Rider, and then you combine them together and you get James Gunn to do it, then you get Cosmic Ghost Rider, who's also the Punisher, who's also taking on Thanos in Donny Cates' Marvel Cosmic Universe. So it's the Punisher, and it's Ghost Rider, and it's Cosmic, and it's all together in one character, and it's awesome.
Oh, has that got the baby Thanos in it, or no?
It does. Cool? Baby Thanos and Cosmic Ghost Rider with the shotgun shooting at Thanos, and Galactus shows up, and yeah, it's all good.
All right, Ethan, wrap us up.
All right, so I was going to recommend the Punisher, the Greg Rucka run from 2011, but forget that. We got DC and AEW to talk about, for gosh sake. Their crossover, baby. It's written by Steve Orlando, art by Travis Mercer. It's fantastic. Where else are you going to see Mercedes Moné and Lex Luthor team up? Where else are you going to see Darby Allin and Batman together? And where else are you going to see Willow Nightingale and Wonder Woman together? You're not going to see that anywhere else. But DC and AEW crossover, baby. It's poor schlock, but I'm glad that they're doing this. And yeah, big props to AEW. I'm a huge AEW fan, so I had to give it a shout out on this show.
And we hope that you enjoyed all of the Merry Marvel Marching Society all throughout the month of March. Make sure that you're sticking around for more movie mayhem in just one short month when actually May pops around. But until then, rate, review, and subscribe. Rate, review, and subscribe over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com. We've actually got a coda for the Merry Marvel March Society next week, as we'll have technically a 6th book, but it also has DC characters. It is the Superman Spider-Man crossover, which has been getting all of the rave reviews, all of the press, one of the biggest events in comic books in some time, or at least since Batman and Deadpool. Anyways, we've got that comic book.
Or also DC and AEW. DC and AEW. That was the biggest crossover of all time.
So make sure you're rate, reviewing, and subscribing over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com so you can see the flagship characters, Spider-Man, Superman, just next week.
And while you're checking that out at your local comic shop, remember they have other stuff too. So maybe you want to check out Punisher Max in the beginning. Maybe you want to check out the Punisher Warzone movie. Or maybe you want to check out the Punisher Dolph Lundgren movie. Or Punisher Red Band from this past year. Or Cosmic Ghost Rider, which is actually the Punisher. Or maybe you're going with the DC AEW, which I do take umbrage, sir. I picked that issue up, and nowhere was Christian Cage, who I was looking for.
They had Orange Cassidy. They had Kenny Omega.
I know, but my guy Christian Cage was not in there, but that's okay. They had plenty of other. They had the one lady I like. What's her name?
Oh, Timeless Tony Storm. But she wasn't in black and white, which is detriment to her character, but we'll get to that. Also, the Greg Rucka Punisher. Make sure to
talk about a Punisher that's a force of nature. That Greg Rucka run was good. Anyway, all that more waits for you at your local comic shop, so check those folks out today. And then don't forget to circle back to our website, where you will find links to our social media. We are Last Comic Shop Podcast, most places. And then you can also find links to our merch store. And J.A., what merch do we have in store this week?
Well, always t-shirts, tote bags, coffee mugs, hats. This week, you can get some turtlenecks to protect your neck. Keep it warm. Make sure it's the handle being shot at. So, neck-protecting gear for you and your loved ones. Make sure they don't get shot in the neck.
Like Chad said, after you go to your LCS to get your weekly pool pile or monthly pool pile, use our promo code LCSPOD at checkout at bcwsupplies.com to get bags, boards, and all the other various bric-a-brac that you need to protect those books that you just picked up. Again, bcwsupplies.com, LCSPOD at checkout, and also you have to match that 5-star review, baby. Shoot a bullet in the 5-star review. Get us to the top of the pop culture charts, because this is the best show on the planet, man. And we've got so many episodes in the past and so many episodes in the pipe. Come back to May for Movie Mayhem, where we're doing this whole comic and movie team up every single week.
With better movies.
Yeah. We're going to have Ethan coming back for one of those Movie Mayhem episodes. We're going to be doing Lone Wolf and Cub, and we can't have an episode with some manga without including Ethan on that. So make sure that you're rate, reviewing, and subscribing. And until that episode airs, and until next week with Superman and Spider-Man, I was your host with the most, Andy Larson. I was joined by Jay Scott, Chad Smith, and the wonderful Ethan Larson. And we hope that you stay safe. Stay punishering. Is that even a word? Punishing them?
Punishing?
Let me take this from the classic Thomas Jane movie. This isn't vengeance. This is punishment.
And that's the one John Travolta's in?
And Kevin Nash. The one we probably should have watched instead of this one. I'm sorry.
He's got a bow and arrow. It's so good.
Comic Shop podcast was a 2026 Black Angus production.